Hello and welcome to Middle-Aged Geek Girl. Back in July, I decided I wanted to try drawing again. I hadn't actually drawn since I was a child, apart from a couple of doodles when I got bored at business meetings. My doodles tended to theme around coffins and headstones, things of a morbid nature, and I actually do recall them causing some concerns when a staff member decided to rifle through my drawers and found my notebooks with doodles in them and actually went to my manager to express concern about my well-being. Unbelievable. So aside from the morbid doodles now and then, I thought I'd go back to drawing, and I challenged myself to draw for 90 days. Overall, over a 90-day period, I drew for about 83. 7 I didn't due to illness, and that just happened to end on the 30th of September. The timing couldn't be more perfect, as the next day was the start of Inktober. So I decided to keep myself drawing and give Inktober a go for the first time. So that's what this video is about. It's the first 16 days of my Inktober journey, and I will be doing a part 2 to showcase the second half of the month. Without further ado, here are my very amateur and very childlike drawings, but please enjoy. So to start with, I did some swatches because I did originally aim to actually do a full Inktober, which is basically all black ink with a few colours for highlights. I, however, got some Ohuhu art markers in the mail as Inktober just was beginning, so I thought, damn it, I'm going to actually use some of them as well. It gives me practice with alcohol ink markers that I have never used either. It's not a pure black and white. Some pieces are colourful, some just have one highlight colour, and others are full colour. Day 1, prompt 1, ring. I decided not to go down the obvious path of a wedding ring, engagement ring, Lord of the Ring. Instead, I went with Samara from the movie The Ring. This is her coming out of the well. I used mainly Ohuhu markers. I just love saying Ohuhu. You'll hear it a lot through this video. So I used the Ohuhu markers and some pens I picked up from Daiso. So it is a very, as I said, simplistic drawing, as most of these will be, but not bad for the first time I've tried to draw something like that. I actually don't mind her. That was day 1. Day 2, Mindless. This one's pretty straightforward. It's just a head with the top of it being lifted off, and we see a big dark void. There's absolutely no brain. I actually like this. This is one of my favourite ones that I've done so far. I tend to draw my eyes really big and round, and yes, the facial features aren't realistic. Noses are, and eyes are closer together, etc. But I sort of like this look, and it's a look you'll see throughout my Inktober journey. It's a style I seem to be picking up, and I might get more realistic as my skills increase, but I'm not aiming for a realistic look. I'm actually aiming for a more cartoony look. Day 3, bait. So this is the first time I tried to go with the black background, which I painted with watercolour. I've done an anglerfish, attracted to some bait, which is on a hook, which is way too big for the mouth of the size of the anglerfish, so I've got my proportions way out there. But I got a lot of positive feedback when I posted this one, actually, from people on Facebook and Instagram saying they really liked it. It's my least favourite, or one of my least favourite, but here is Mr. Anglerfish for day 3. Day 4, freeze. This time I did go political. I couldn't help it. There was a lot of stuff in the news about calls for New Start, which, if you're not from Australia, is a payment from our government to assist people while they're unemployed and looking for a job. It's way, way, way below the poverty line. It's near impossible to live off of. I was on it for a short time after I lost my job. It's just ridiculous. There's been a cry for New Start to be raised, as well as wages, and just generally the government to actually do something to help us. Our government, Australia, is currently the Liberal National Party. They're the Conservatives, even though they're called the Liberal Party. So this, as I said, went political. It's got the big cold freezing eyes of the LNP freezing out the poor person who just wants a decent wage and decent New Start to assist them. I like this one. I tried shading. Day 5, build. I just like the idea of putting a brain inside a head. Sort of goes with Mindless, day 2's prompt, where there was no brain in their head. The imagery also came from, and I can't remember which Saw movie it was, but there is a poster with the Saw guy being constructed with cranes around him. And I'm not a Saw fan, so forgive me for not knowing any of the accurate details, but you will know the poster if you're a Saw fan. Day 6, Husky. This time, again, I didn't want to go for the obvious of a husky dog, so I went for coconuts because they've got a pretty husky fur on the outside. And I also wanted to go and practice with some lifelike drawing, so I've used Pinterest for references here, and I've drawn some coconuts just using a Derwent graphic line marker pen. That was what the shading and everything's been done with. I don't think I did too bad. I mean, I know there's room for improvement, but for a first time of trying to do sort of a lifelike drawing, I'm actually quite happy with the results. Day 7, Enchanted. It's a fairy basking in the sunset, and so it hit a lot of the Inktober marks that it's mostly in black with just 1 or 2 highlight colours. I used a reference picture from a book called How to Draw Fairies by Paul Bryn Davies, I apologise, and it's a lot more softer in his version. You know, it's not too bad. A friend pointed out it looks a bit more like it's an androgynous face, which works for me too. It wasn't an aim of mine. It was trying to be feminine, but it's just feminine with a really big chin, which there's nothing wrong with that. Day 8, Frail. Funny enough, when it was day 8 to draw this, I was actually feeling rather frail myself. I've been having some issues with the old mental health. So whilst it is a simplistic, but you can see, as I was saying earlier, the face design is very similar. It's the way I like to draw faces at the moment. It's not realistic. The eyes are too far apart and too far away from the nose. But I like doing the big round eyes and the more elongated face, and the chin the same way as well. So I just use the greys and the ohuhu markers for the shading purposes rather than watered down ink. I'm not quite that confident in doing that yet. As you can see, it's just a very sad person with cracks starting to appear in her face to show the frailty of how she's feeling. Day 9, Swing. Now, as I mentioned, for day 8, I've been feeling a bit off, and when I tried to draw this, I thought I was going to be very good and do a person swinging from a moon in the night sky, but I was going to do it in beautiful blues rather than greys and black. And I got the reference picture from Drago Art, which is a website that has a lot of drawing tutorials, which is really good when you're learning, but it just didn't go right. Nothing went right on the day. I got some color erase mechanical pencils, which are really cool to do outlines with, but for this it didn't work. I did the outlines in purple, and then when it came to erasing it didn't quite want to erase. I stuffed up the hands. Like a lot of beginning artists, hands are impossible to draw. These hands are a nightmare. They're just so wrong. The face is wrong. Then I tried to colour it, and the markers just wanted to bleed everywhere. I couldn't get an even colour. So I coloured it all anyway, and then just gave up when I started to do the moon shadows or the cloud shadows, and it was a nightmare. It just is a massive fail. Day 10, Pattern. Now you're probably thinking, how on earth could you stuff up a pattern? I stuffed up a pattern. I went for a Zentangle, and on camera it doesn't look too bad, but in person I absolutely loathe it. You can see where I got to, where the red starts to appear in the picture where I've written, "This isn't finished. I hate it." It really got to that point and I just went, oh my god, this is ugly. Why am I doing it? Something that I thought would have been quite easy to do was another stuff up. So day 9 and day 10 were not triumphant, and I was ready to quit. I seriously thought, why am I even bothering? I've only been drawing for what would have been 100 days at this stage, and I just thought, this is ridiculous. Never fear, I never gave up, and I was back for day 11, Snow. I wanted to do a snowception piece, which I have done here, but with only 3 levels of snow. I actually wanted to do 5 levels of snowception, but I do not have the drawing talent to do that at the moment. So I went with a TV or a broken TV with snow on the screen, sitting in the snow in a snow globe. The other 2 levels I wanted to add was it then having cocaine or snow on top of the snow globe being snorted by Snow White. So it was going to be a lot of snow. As I said, I don't have the drawing talent quite yet on how to work that out, but it would have been a 5-level snowception, but it was a 3-level snowception, and I'm pretty happy with this one. Day 12, dragon. It just happened that for that night I had dragon fruit for dessert. I went with a dragon fruit. This one completely off Inktober, as I used a lot of colour from those great Ohuhu art markers. Day 13, ash. Whilst looking at Drago Art website, I just happened to key in ash to see what would come up as a drawing tutorial, and this one came up, which is obviously Ash, played by Bruce Campbell from The Evil Dead. So I gave it a go. I'm really happy with it, but I do realise it doesn't quite have that Bruce Campbell-esqueness to it. The chin is where I think I fail. It's nowhere near big enough for a Bruce Campbell chin, but you know, I am rather happy with it. I think it came out really well. I've got a lot of work to do with highlighting and shading and stuff like that, but you know, it looks like a human, and it looks like a human with a chainsaw, and a very bloody chainsaw. So this one I really love. Day 14, overgrown. This one I had an idea for the minute I saw the word on the prompt list, and I actually drew this one probably when it was day 5. I just wanted to go completely stupid and out there, which is why the drawing is a lot more simplistic, say, than Ash was, because it was drawn a lot earlier in the month. But overgrown, instantly pubic hair. I don't know why my mind works this way, but it does. So we have a lady with an abundance of pubic hair standing behind a perfectly placed cutout in a hedge. And I thought it just looked a bit too bland, so I went and wrote some affirmations with white Posca in the bush. You should love your bush. It's there for a reason. Don't hate it. Don't get rid of it. It's not the way. So that was day 14, overgrown. Day 15, legend. Rather than go with an Anglo or European version of a legend such as Knights of the Round Table, King Arthur, Robin Hood, etc., I went for yokai, Japanese yokai, and the legend I chose was a Kuchisaki Onna. Now, Kuchisaki Onna roughly translates to slit-mouthed woman. I'm not going to go into the full lore behind a Kuchisaki Onna, and if you are interested, I do recommend you Google it. But basically, she is a woman who walks around with a horribly mutilated mouth and asks you, "Am I pretty?" Now, depending on how you answer, depends on what happens to you. I love this picture. However, not everyone did love this picture. I got some great feedback on Instagram telling me how creepy it looked, and it was meant in a nice way, and I was really happy with it because I was going for creepy. But the most disturbing and disgusting feedback I got was on Instagram from a male, basically telling me to do the same to my face with a ha 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 at the end, because it was so funny to tell a woman to mutilate herself. It's absolutely disgusting that you just can't post art without some fuckwit male thinking they need to tell you that you're ugly and to cut yourself. The last in this video, day 16, wild. This one I did in pen, just in micron pen originally, and it was really rushed. It was rushed because of the feedback I'd got from, as mentioned, for the Kuchisaki Onna. I really didn't want to draw. I just didn't want to do any more of these. So I just scribbled something down. It's a female Yeti or Sasquatch or Yowie, whatever country you come from, whatever you choose to call it. So she was originally done just, as I said, in black micron, but a couple of days later I thought I'd try and colour her in, give her some life, trying to revive her a bit. It came out okay. It's not the best, it's not the worst. It is what it is, and it's a result of just not wanting to continue with Inktober. But I have, the setbacks I got from the bad days were nothing compared to how that comment made me feel. That's all of the pictures for this video. I shall be back in part 2, which will showcase day 17 to 31. And let me know what your favourite picture was, and if you're doing Inktober yourself. Or are you learning to draw? I'll catch you all in part 2. Bye.